Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dyah Here I will present a journal that I have read. Under the title, The Application of Speed Reading to Increase Reading Comperhension for the First Grade Student of SMA Antartika Sidoarjo. This journal from Astaka IP PGRI Sidoarjo and written by Dwi Ratnasari Permana, Zaskia Sulianta, and Laili Hibatin Wafiro. So, I will read the abstract. From the abstract, this research observed the application of speed reading to increase reading comprehension for the first grade student of SMA Antartika Sidoarjo. This research was undertaken in class 10-1, comprising 14 students, involving a writer and an observer. The research was conducted through a classroom action research CAR. The research showed that speed reading technique could be used to increase. It was supported by the ability of the teacher on planning learning in the classroom, involving activities proportionally in the instructional process. Carrying a classroom climate was conducive by adequating learning facilities and infrastructure. The successful application of speed reading technique could be seen from the presence of students' positive response and their active participation in each learning activities. So after the abstract is the introduction. This research observed the application of speed reading to increase reading comprehension for the first grade student of SMA Antartika Sidoarjo. The background of this research is language as the foundation of human communication. A person can express ideas, feelings, emotions, suggestion, and touch language. Language is also used to share information with others. English plays an important role in absorbing and developing science and technology. English has become the main communication in the era of globalization. In the academic field, students are required to master 4 English skills, namely reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Every skill cannot be sporadic, it must be comprehensive to create successful reading. It can be said that reading skills are very beneficial for academic success. This means that every aspect of learning requires reading as the biggest component. The process of learning to read by teachers currently only emphasizes and reading ability of students without saying its effectiveness and efficiency. Reading ability is how a person can understand the message conveyed. In reading a text while the application of various techniques, the learning aims to create a learning style that is fun and gives according results. Speed reading is teaching technique that produces speed by using a movement and not making sound. The purpose of speed reading is to obtain accurate and comprehensive information in a short time. It's done at a very high speed by reading sentence by sentence and paragraph by paragraph, not being read word for word. Therefore, learning for read using the speed reading method will be beneficial for students in knowing the topics in the reading text, knowing other people's opinions, getting something important, and saving reading time.
Okay everyone, This research was conducted through PTK because PTK is done to diagnose and solve problems, can be seen with the action to solve existing problems. The goal is to determine students' learning outcomes during the learning process using speed reading techniques for class 10-1. Students which are determined based on the results of tests, questionnaires, observation, and student activeness in class. The research was conducted at SMA Antartika Sidoarjo, class 10-1, located on Jalan Siwalan, Panji Buduran. The number of students is 14, consisting of 50 boys and 25 girls. The subjects of the students were English teachers and students. Reading comparison in this class was still low because the teachers still used inappropriate methods. The only one way interaction occurs begins with reflection and analysis of students' learning outcomes, identifying problems, analyzing problems, and looking for alternative solutions. After the results are obtained, the following steps are taken. 1. Planning improvement. 2. Prepare exercise. 3. Preparing data collection instruments. 4. Determining criteria for success or increasing achievement. At this stage, implementation of the lesson plan is as follows. 1. The teacher explains. 2. The teacher asks students to practice. 3. The teacher distributes exercise sheets. 4. The teacher concludes that the material has been studied. Okay, in the reflection stage, a reflection is carried out with colleagues to carry out activities based on the results that have been accepted in each cycle and used as the basis for efforts to increase learning in the next cycle. The data analysis technique in this research is descriptive, quantitative, which describes the results based on the data obtained to determine the success criteria. Okay, the next step is finding and discussion. Speed reading. The results of this study in the first cycle, there were 17 students who actively participated in the learning process through speed reading techniques. Meanwhile, the number of passive readers was 23 students. And you can see from the data in the table. Based on the data above, the application of speed reading in cycle 1 can be declared a failure because 70 students have not recited the KKM. This is a problem and a solution must be sought to improve the quality of learning. According to the observer's opinion, this failure occurred because the learning media was not optimal, effective, and efficient. At this stage, students must be given special reinforcement material. On the other hand, student activities in the classroom tend to be undisciplined because they are less familiar with speed reading techniques and the teacher does not pay attention to the allocation of time. The preparation of improvement plans in cycle 2 is expected to improve the quality of students' learning outcomes at the information stage. Students are given the opportunity to do reading exercise using speed reading techniques by reading several texts in a limited time. From the data analysis, it was seen that there was a significant increase namely as many as 13 students who could reach the KKM and only 3 students who still did not reach the KKM, proves that the application of speed reading in Cycle 2 received a positive response from students, and this cycle was closed with a classroom action research that had been implemented. It can be concluded that speed reading techniques can solve students' problems in reading and understanding text. The weaknesses found in the first cycle were less relevant learning media. Students didn't understand fast reading techniques. The teacher didn't pay attention to limiting time allocation at each stage. This is the basis for the improvements in the second cycle. Then the teacher corrects it by using PowerPoint. Okay, in the second cycle, the teacher began to make improvements to weaknesses in the first cycle. And you can see the data on your laptop screen. In cycle 2, the application of speed reading was said to be successful even though the results were not satisfactory, because only 3 students hadn't reached the KKM on the speed reading test. It can be concluded that the aim of this research is to achieve success. In other words, the application of speed reading techniques can improve students' ability to read quickly and understand the reading text. Speed reading can also increase students' activity in the learning process. Okay, the last step is conclusion. Reading skills can improve reading comprehension of class 10-1 students of SMA Antarctica Sidoarjo. This is evidenced by the evaluation test with class average in cycle 1. In question 2 in cycle 2, the application of speed reading in cycle 1 was declared a failure because there were 17 students who didn't reach the KKM, and it increased in cycle 2. The teacher faced it with a PowerPoint. The students seemed excited and enthusiastic during the learning process. Based on the results of data analysis and the assessment process in cycle 2, the application of speed reading was said to be successful because there were only 3 students who didn't reach the KKM. Speed reading can also increase student activity in the learning process. Okay everyone, thank you and sorry if I have many mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.